Good evening, our guests and listeners. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Elombah Television tonight. Our topic tonight is on the problem of insecurity in the Southeast. And our guests are Michael Ugwueze and Mr. Chikodiri Nwangwu. It's my pleasure to welcome you tonight. Forgive me for taking this modality, but please, I will please ask our guests to introduce themselves to our listeners instead of me doing it, which is a variation of our normal way. So please, Mr. Michael Ugwueze, can you please unmute yourself and introduce yourself to our listeners?
Thank you very much, the moderator. I'm Dr. Michael Ugwueze. I'm a senior lecturer in the Department of Political Science, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Let me add it there.
Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight. All right, Mr. Chikodiri Nwangwu, can you please unmute yourself and introduce yourself to our listeners?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. My name is a lecturer in the Department of Political Science.
All right. Your name is Mr. Chikodiri Nwangwu, a lecturer, Political Science, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. It's my pleasure to welcome you both tonight. This is a very, very important topic that has engaged a lot of Nigerians over this period, especially people in the Southeast. It used to be said that the Southeast of Nigeria is one of the most secure part of the country. But it appears that events over the past 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks, have kind of eroded that confidence our people have. Let's start with Mr. Nwangwu, please. What is your view on the security situation in the Southeast of Nigeria at the moment?
Okay. Thank you very much. The security situation in the Southeast of Nigeria right now is a source of concern to every well-meaning Nigerian, whether of Southeast extraction or not. Because before now, there has been this tendency to believe or even conclude that Southeast is completely exempted from various regional security challenges that have reared its ugly head in Nigeria. For instance, within various parts of the country in the Northwest, we have a more regionalized security challenge in the form of what the government and some section of the media prefer to call banditry. Then in the Northwest, it had always been Boko Haram, ISWAP, and the rest of them. Then in other parts of the country, they also have one form of a regionalized security threat or another. So Southeast, with the exception of some pockets of insecurity associated with commercial crimes like kidnapping, ritual killings, and so on and so forth, has never recorded this scale of insecurity in its history. So, like I said at the onset, it is a source of concern to every well-meaning Nigerian, whether you are a politician, you are a businessman, or you are just an ordinary member of the society.
Okay, we thank you for this brief introduction. Mr. Ugwueze, do you agree with the assessment that the security situation in the Southeast has kind of deteriorated at the moment?
Even a market woman can easily tell you that it has deteriorated. And I must tell you, we are not surprised about the deterioration because insecurity is infectious. When the Northeast and Northwest, we are engulfed in insecurity occasioned by the activities of Boko Haram, we cried aloud. Not necessarily that we are directly affected as a region then, but because of the fact that insecurity is something that is infectious, and if it is not nipped in the bud, every region will likely witness such insecurity. And because of the way it was handled, we're also seeing the result in the Southeast. You rightly pointed out that before now, Southeast used to be the most secure part of Nigeria. And for certain reasons, the people, Southeasterners, you know, they have not been people that depend on government, so to say. They have not, in fact, they thrive on their principle of self-help. And because of that, people considered it that it is possible, while other areas might have been infected by insecurity and affected as well, that the Southeast might be subsumed given the fact of the nature of the people within the region. Forgetting that insecurity is infectious, and once your neighbor is not secured, if he is crying and we are not helping, and the solution is not provided, the implication is that that which attacks him may as well attack you. And that's exactly what we are seeing in the southeastern part of Nigeria. So the security situation, no doubt, has deteriorated.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nwangwu, what would you say is the cause of this deterioration we are having regarding insecurity in the Southeast?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. The truth of the matter is that there is no single strand explanation to what is currently going on in the Southeast. A number of theoretical expositions and explanations have been evolved to give account to what is ongoing. And the one is that it revolves around what I may call injustice. Injustice. Many of us who are students in Nigerian politics are very conversant with the fact that the end of the Civil War, what the public, the Nigerian public, and indeed some sections of the media as well, called a civil war. In 1970, did not mark the end of treatment, especially of the part of the country that were apparently defeated during the war. So whatever we are having today in the Southeast is more or less a reaction to a prolonged and accumulated unjust treatment against the Southeasterners in particular and the Igbo nationality in general. After the war, the federal government led by General Gawan came up with a reconciliatory move, which was also associated with a reconstruction and a rebuilding and all of those under what he called the 3R. But when we look at the implementation, the actual implementation of that policy, we know that there was a wide gulf between the policy statement on the one hand and the implementation on the other. And then moving forward from that, we also noticed that there had been a deliberate move by the federal government to divest the Southeast. There is no federal government presence, whether in terms of economic investment, in terms of infrastructure, and the rest of it in the Southeastern region. And this is not just a problem of the federal government of Nigeria. The federal government of Nigeria has also found accomplices or complicit among the politicians of Southeastern extraction. So, number one reason behind the rising cases of insecurity is traceable to injustice. And that injustice is mainly associated with the agitation for separatism on the part of IPOB and other Neo-Biafran separatist groups. So that is number one. Then number two can also be traceable to a culture of impunity. In Nigeria, over the years, people have been seen to commit various forms of crime, and there hasn't been any concerted move on the part of the government, the state authorities, whether at the subnational level or central government level, to punish offenders. So people have seen that instead of exercising punitive action against offenders or against criminal behavior, that criminals are increasingly being rewarded. So because of this culture of impunity, it has also created room for some elements within the Southeast to also find, identify with criminal behavior. Then another one also has to do with the issue of unemployment and the poverty. The truth of the matter is that in most cases, several available data from official quarters, whether the MBS, Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, Federal Office of Statistics, among Central Bank of Nigeria, among several other official records, has it that that although Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world, but the prevalence of poverty and unemployment and the lack and inequality is more in the northern part of the country. But when we also look at the data very carefully, we will find out that Ebonyi State, for instance, in the Southeast, is one of the 5 most impoverished states in the country. Then beyond the issue of Ebonyi State, we also have other states like Abia, Enugu, Imo, and the Anambra, which might not be as poor as Ebonyi in terms of official record. But the truth of the matter is that as at 2019, the official poverty rate of Nigeria stood at 40.1% as a country. Then each state also has its own poverty head count. So when we look at it from the standpoint of access to economic resources, unemployment, and the prevalence of poverty, we will understand that these are some of the key drivers of insecurity in any part of the country, not just in the Southeast. There could be, there are several other explanations, but I just want to stop for now.
Yes, definitely. We thank you for it. It appears you wanted to cover the base. Let's go to Mr. Ugwueze, right? We've just finished listening to Mr. Nwangwu. Let's go to Mr. Ugwueze. Well, he has basically touched on a lot of causes of insecurity in the Southeast. My question will be, to what extent would you agree with him that poverty has been a major contributory factor to this state of insecurity?
You know, like I told you in my opening remark,
yes,
that part of the reasons why people thought that the Southeast will not be subsumed in the kind of insecurity witnessed in other parts of Nigeria is because the people of the regions, mostly the Igbos, traditionally, in fact, since the end of the Civil War, have not been depending on government. If at all, they even depended before the Civil War. And because of that, they already have their own pattern of solving their problems, making ends meet with or without government. But one critical issue at the moment is that government policies could constrain whatever effort one makes as an individual. And that's exactly what we are seeing. You see a situation where you are struggling and you are not.
So sorry, can you unmute yourself? I think you are mistakenly muted. Yes, go ahead.
Even when anyway, I wouldn't know at the point you muted me.
Just go ahead. Just go ahead. Don't worry.
Okay.
It's very brief.
Even when the government, even when the people make effort to provide for themselves, government policies could always constrain their efforts, and that's exactly what we have witnessed in the southeastern part of Nigeria. And those are the things that reinforce that memory of the Civil War that always ignite the agitation for people to move on their own, so that even if government is providing, do not interfere in a manner that will constrain the people from even making their own provisions, because that's what we have witnessed. Of course, you can see some of the policies of the government. You can see even the recent one made by the CBN on cryptocurrency, and you discover some of the issues that sometimes how we resolve problems in Nigeria is by throwing the baby and the bathwater away. That when you witness problem in some areas, instead of finding solution to the area, it will be by stopping everything. We witnessed it not quite long when government also closed all land borders in terms of anything coming into Nigeria in the name of fighting insecurity, transborder criminality. We saw that it didn't stop such criminality from taking place, but it further impoverished so many other Nigerians. It further constrained and took many businessmen out of business. The people that were largely affected The Igbos were there, the Yorubas were there, and one of the people who have largely traded on commerce, and for which you see the Igbos as number one. So you see a situation where the people's efforts are increasingly be constrained by government policies and programs. And at the end of the day, you have ended at producing more poor people, more insecure environment, because any environment replete with poverty is bound to witness serious insecurity. It cuts across everywhere. And because it is happening, you see the people who already, time immemorial, have the strength at providing for themselves, not depending on government. Even when you watch what federal government did, federal military government in 1970, that it pronounced no victor, no vanquished, and followed suit with the 3R program. We saw what they followed up with. They brought the indigenization policy, and what the indigenization policy did was to transfer 60% of ownership of existing companies in Nigeria back to Nigerians. And what did they do before that policy? What they did was to ensure that all Easterners, all Biafrans, those who fought the war, whatever you had in the bank, whatever you had anywhere, government simply appropriated whatsoever, irrespective of the amount you had before the war, to 20 pounds. And immediately followed such a draconian policy with indigenization policy. And you could now see that it was highly impossible, not just difficult, for any Igbo person, any Easterner who participated in that war, or who even did not participate in the war, to procure any of those auctioned firms. And you could see what was happening. But the people didn't complain too much. They didn't die because of all those policies. They continued with their own principle of self-help, like I said earlier, such that when IBB visited Eastern Nigeria, years later the war, what he saw in Onitsha and several other places marveled him. And he couldn't believe that the people who were largely constrained by the post-war programs of federal government could rebuild the environment in such manner, with or without government support. And that's exactly what you see. So when some of these instincts, some of these principles of self-help that have been helping the Igbos move forward with or without government support are increasingly being constrained by government policies, you tend to see the youth rise in anger, demanding justice that such had got to stop. I think that's just the critical factor.
Yes, before I go back to Minister Nwangwu, Mr. Ugwueze, let me put this to you, that the type of insecurity we are witnessing in the Southeast now is a bit different from the insecurity we used to know. We used to know about armed robbery. We used to know about burglaries. We used to know about muggings, then kalo, or whatever we call them in those days. Then capo, that's what I think, that's what we call them, yes.
Yeah.
But today you see police stations being burnt, policemen being killed, in a way, a correctional center being ransacked. In the Benue state, farmers being killed, a whole village is being wiped out.
Yeah.
Right now, what will we say have contributed to this type of insecurity we are witnessing today different? Should we say that to poverty?
Okay, good. The world is changing, and information, with the revolution in information and communication technology, gone are now the days when information is only made available to those who have access to them. Now virtually everybody has access to get information or even to aid their opinions. Things are changing. Armed robbery, like you observed, burglary, all those things are changing, because don't forget that the world, not just Nigeria, is running on cashless policies. Government is introducing cashless policies everywhere. So people no longer put huge monies at home. So there is no point going about attacking them, because even if you attack and break into the house, you will not gain anything. So, and that is why you begin to see a different dimension to it. Despite all other crimes that we used to witness, you can see what is happening. And that's why I said earlier that insecurity is infectious. We now see invasion of communities by herdsmen, people breaking and destroying police stations and government formation. This one boils to anger. Breaking into police station and all that boiled. Let me tell you what happened before the NSAS protest in Nigeria. It got to a point when nobody could drive any beautiful car, mostly in southeastern part of Nigeria, especially the youth. If you move anything, you discover the police raiding houses. I had very terrible experience in my final year in the university, such that I nearly slept in police station the day I was to write my final year exam. I didn't do anything. I was simply returning from library, and it happened to be a time police were raiding my vicinity. And that was just, they were not asking you anything. Once they catch you, they put you inside their van. This was happening around 7:30. It wasn't happening in the midnight, let alone that people were wandering. And I was simply returning from library. I must tell you how I begged myself that day is a subject of another discussion. But you see this kind of thing, it simply creates animosity between the people, especially the youth, the police, and the rest of them. And that's why anytime they feel that the problem they are witnessing is created by government, you see their anger being vexed to police station and the rest of them. For the herdsmen and the rest of them that we are witnessing, it's a general Nigerian problem, which we cannot rule out from even Boko Haram movement or what they now call bandits and the rest of them. This is just crisis metamorphosis. The same people metamorphosing and changing style, assuming another name, and Nigeria has a way of giving them names. If we call them Boko Haram, they so become Boko Haram. If they migrate to another place and act in another way, we now call them bandits. If they move to another side, we call them herdsmen. But these people assume the same method, the same style, and the same pattern, all geared towards putting fear in the minds of the people and ensuring that their voices are caged. This is just why it is happening the way it does.
Okay, we thank you for this submission. Mr. Nwangwu, will you agree that progressing from what Mr. Ugwueze have said, that the type of insecurity we are witnessing in the Southeast now is more political rather than economic?
Okay. I think, like I said much earlier, it is very difficult to have a single-stranded narrative regarding the prevalence of insecurity in the Southeast today. It is a combination of both political, economic, and other variables that have all combined to worsen the security situation. So that is that. But I just want to reinforce one or two things that Dr. Michael had already pointed out. You know, during the NSAS protest of October 2020, the northern part of the country, many Nigerians of northern origin, they were startled. As a matter of fact, they were shocked that some Nigerians of southern origin could protest against oppressive tendencies of the Nigerian police. And what does this presuppose? It simply tells us that we have always had two Nigerias. You know, in 1914, there was an amalgamation that led to the unification of the Southern Protectorate and the. But despite that amalgamation, we also noticed that both protectorates were being governed by separate colonial ordinances. And it continued for several years. And there's some people who are not discerning enough might think that we have been able to a kind of bury various differences and they harmonize our divergent views and the differences culturally and otherwise, so that Nigeria is now one. But the truth of the matter is that Nigeria is still divided. When I say divided now, I'm just seeing it from the standpoint of the North versus the South, especially in terms of policing. So Northerners were very much shocked that that some people were protesting against police brutality in the country, because that presupposes that the style of policing, the methodologies of policing in southern Nigeria is completely different from what obtained and still obtains in the northern part of the country. So in the southern part of the country, there is high degree of police brutality, there is high degree of police repression, there is high degree of oppressive tendencies on the part of the security forces against ordinary Nigerians. Like Michael rightly pointed out, before now, it was a case of youth being seen in a flashy Benz, commonly associated with Yahoo Yahoo. Even when there are so many others who have a Benz and other exotic and exquisite cars that have never been involved in any form of cyber criminality. So in the southern part of the country, there is high level of police brutality, which does not obtain in the north. So this alone is a key driver. So in the southeast, and by extension, in other southern parts of the country, the level of police brutality meted against armless Nigerians have continued to a kind of reignite even memories of what happened several years ago, especially amongst the Easterners. And when such happens, you will find a situation whereby one is deeply provoked, is deeply angry. So there is a kind of bottled up anger that has been in existence, and this bottled up anger is being propelled to explode by the activities and the brutalities of the Nigerian police. So it's just by way of reinforcement of what Michael said. So, and another thing, like he said, is that security or insecurity rather has also mutated, just like we have various diseases that will mutate over time. So security and insecurity has also mutated over time. And the reasons are not far-fetched. With the revolution in information and the communications technology, it has become much easier for information to pass across territorial boundaries. The moment is being, the moment it is taking place, the moment a certain event is taking place in a particular part of the world, it is already being relayed to other parts of the world. So when people that have been historically oppressed, subjected to various forms of inhuman and degrading treatments, have seen how their colleagues elsewhere, how people elsewhere have responded, like what happened what happened about 2 years ago in Spain, when some people in the region of what is it called? Yeah, when Catalonians were moving for, were making move for separatism, or what is happening in southern Cameroon, when some people are, when southern Cameroonians are increasingly making moves, agitating for separate existence amongst other separatist movements across the world. So when you look at it and how their leaders, the leaders of various separatist groups are mobilizing people, forces against the oppressive tendencies of the central state, it will easily be a lesson for those in the southeast, whether led by IPOB, MASOB, or other separatist groups. So they can easily draw lessons from such separatist movements in other parts of the world. You know.
Okay, we thank you. Now that you have mentioned IPOB, yesterday we had a program in a sister organization, and we have General Omahe, who have been appointed to lead the new Ebubago security outfit in the southeast. Now, part of the things he said is that the ESN poses a security threat to the southeast region. Why will not go deeply into that? My question would be, how have the loss of political control in the southeast to IPOB, because it appears that the political leaders of the southeast region has lost political control of the southeast region to IPOB. First of all, do you agree with this summation before we proceed, so that we will not be proceeding on a very wrong premise?
Well, I wouldn't completely agree that the leaders of the southeast have lost the region to IPOB or any other armed group for that matter. But that is not to say that the IPOB does not wield a substantial amount of influence amongst many Southeasterners. As a matter of fact, because of the hesitancy and the reluctance on the part of the leaders, political leaders of the Southeast to come up with a regional security strategy, maybe in the mode of what was rolled out in the Southwest in the name of Amotekun. So when there was a palpable hesitancy on the part of political leaders of the Southeast region, as is commonly said, nature abhors a vacuum. So Nnamdi Kanu's IPOB quickly took advantage of the leadership vacuum created to roll out what the organization calls the Eastern Security Network. And Eastern Security Network went about doing good, in quotes, went about protecting lives, went about reassuring farmers, Igbo farmers, that they should have confidence in the security architecture that the Eastern Security Network has come to provide. So because of vacuum and the fact that there is a seeming solution on the part of ESN, many youths and indeed many Southeasterners and other Igbo quickly aligned with the Eastern Security Network. So it became a household name. I think it was out of G3. It was based on perceived threat to the powers of the governors and the other political leaders of Southeast origin. That made them to now come up with a number of state-based security interventions in the form of a neighborhood watch, vigilantism, and so on and so forth in various states of the Southeast. In Enugu here, they called it a forest guard. In Anambra and other, in Abia and Ebonyi, we have various forms of security networks established by one governor or the other in form of vigilantism, and so on and so forth. So these were designed to do what? To address the rising security threats in the Southeast region. But as one would see from a number of occurrences and security breaches in the region, like in Ebonyi State, there have been repeated cases of attacks by men who are alleged to be Fulani herdsmen. In Enugu here, especially Enugu North, in Nsukka in particular, there have been also reported cases of attacks which were credited to Fulani herdsmen. In other parts of the region, there have been pockets of attacks or being credited to Fulani herdsmen. So what this points to is that the state-based security architecture for Nnamdi Kanu's Eastern Security Network to be rolled out. And ever since that was done, why this might not be supported by many, but I am of the personal conviction that there has been a relative reduction in attacks credited to Fulani herdsmen within the Southeast region.
Okay, thank you very much. At this juncture, we remind all our listeners that you are free to pose listeners to our guest from this point. Just simply indicate by raising your hand using your device. But first of all, let me bring on Dr. Ugwueze. Would you agree, moving from what Mr. Nwangwu have said, would you agree that the formation of the Ebubago security outfit is a form of reaction to the formation of the ESN? And would you also say that our government have not been proactive the way the Southwest governors were proactive in forming Amotekun to assuage the yearnings of the Southwesterners to their own security outfit to counter the activities of herdsmen? Have our governors been proactive or have they been reactionary in this area?
There is no, the situation was very clear. They were merely reactionary, they were never proactive. In fact, I can even tell you that currently, I don't think Bubago is anything different from Eastern Security Network. I have my reasons for saying that. What Southwestern governors did, as I'm talking to you now, Bubago has no backing of any law. There is no state that has passed any law establishing Bubago. There is no established structure of how this thing will assume, which will have the backings of the law. And that is to tell you that these people merely reacted to what exists. In fact, they felt threatened by Nnamdi Kanu's Eastern Security Network and the influence he was wielding. And they discovered, remember, earlier on, they wished it away that there was no point of forming any regional security, no point following the Southwestern governors, the way they formed their own, and the rest of them. And as Nnamdi Kanu simply cashed into the lacuna to form Eastern Security Network, and the activities of Eastern Security Network are now obvious that they are waxing strong in the Eastern region, they decided to react. It's a reaction to react to such formation by quickly coming up with a Bubago without any legal backing, without any establishment. And this goes down to also suggest the perennial call, the incessant call for community policing in Nigeria, for decentralization of the police system in Nigeria, and then where people can begin to evolve their own security formation that takes care of the peculiar nature of their environment, because the people know themselves very well. If there are criminals that are passing across you, you will know these are criminals, and then you begin to address them the way they should be. So what the Southeastern governors did, and the politicians by extension, was merely reacting to perceive the dominance of Nnamdi Kanu and the influence being wielded by his Eastern Security Network. And for them to show that Ebubagi is different from Eastern Security Network, we should be very clear about the legal backing and how this security formation and architecture will function as different from Nnamdi Kanu's Eastern Security Network. So the clear problem there is that we have traditionally had people who have been representing themselves. This thing is happening because themselves are also threatened. It has gone beyond when insecurity is a problem of the poor man.
Have we lost Are you back? Are you back?
Yeah. So, sorry, I had. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Sorry for that breaching transmission. It's a network problem.
Okay.
So that's what I said. That what we merely see is a reaction from the governors over perceived dominance and perceived influence being wielded by Nnamdi Kanu and his Eastern Security Network. And for them to show that Ebubago is different from Eastern Security Network, they need to evolve legal mechanisms that will give the backings of the law to the established security formation, and also show how will they fund this security organization. We need serious commitment from them, and obviously so. Not a situation where we have seen people who merely represent themselves, who merely think that insecurity is a problem of the poor man. Once they could assemble themselves with various police officers wielding all kinds of arms or military and the rest of them, that they are secured. And that's why, if you watch statistics in Nigeria, over 80% are attached to what we call politically exposed persons, or what they call VIP, very important persons. Once you have money, you appropriate up to 10-5 for yourself, and you can see a local government, a whole local government, having just about 5 policemen securing the whole indigents of the area. So it's a terrible situation.
Well, we thank you very much. At this point, let's take a question or comment from Mr. Tango Ugochukwu, please. Can you unmute yourself? Let's go ahead.
I come again with a greeting to you. You are trying our our moderator.
Thank you very much, sir.
You see, just keep on doing what you are doing. The word is taking note. What I'm saying now is that our two guests are all political experts, but our problem is security. Security, without security in any system, in any society, that society is in problem. Head of state, your governor, DPO, police commissioner, first thing in the morning when you enter office, you read security, they give you security report. Security report is the first thing, because I'm telling you what I know about it really. Buhari was my GOC when I was in the army. In 4D, before I ever became first head of state. Security report, every governor must first of all look into what happened in the night, what happened yesterday. Every morning, security must submit security report, but these people are not working on it. During lockdown, these people were passing on, moving down south. They use this as opportunity. People were complaining, reporting. Even if you catch a flying man with arm, he will be released. Maybe they give the arm back. So the system of Nigeria, this killing, this police burning, this is not IPOB. It's not even ESN. These people want to raise tempo, to create situation that people will feel something is happening, to justify any security bill or money that they give them. They didn't account for security vote. You know, you cannot account for security vote. The best fraud in government is security vote. And security vote will involve protection, is for protection and orderliness of where you are governing. So in order to justify that money they stole, most of this problem, if there's a really expert investigation, you will find out that this is, and now election is coming in Anambra. 2023 is coming too. So these people raise tension, and most of they train these criminals for election purpose. After they do away with them, they even use SARS to kill those they can kill in order to not to get any problem in future. But that one stay aside. But go to our system, look at Army, Navy, Police, and DSS. All you talk of is Fulani. And these people have master plan from other Putin outside Nigeria, how to keep the power. And if a man will be an officer or from any tribe, they know how to thank you, promote you. You're thinking, they know what they are doing. They push you out. That's the appointment you will hold. You cannot go back again. That's an appointment they will give you in the army. After you hold that appointment, your rank will not suit that appointment again. It's so in the police, in any ministry. Some promotion they give you is not in your favor. And at times, you lost seniority. When you lost seniority in a system, your moral is no more in the job. When you are doing a job and you lost seniority, you seem you are better, mediocres, people who know nothing about the job being promoted. That one is another thing that kill Nigerian system. Nigeria is a nice country that have everything. God bless Nigeria with everything you can talk of. Most of the country we envy are very poor more than Nigeria. We have seen it. We have gone around the world. But our problem is that outside interests is another security problem we have in Nigeria. Many companies now in Europe, we don't hide for these people again. Their warehouse is full. When this war starts, where would they sell their arms? It happened in Libya. It happened everywhere. Gaddafi have enough arms. But when Libya was destroyed, nobody accounts for one Gaddafi gun or bullet. They formed the governments, shifting one again from Europe, from Europe, Western world, to protect Libya. But when they are giving the new weapon to support new government of Libya, they don't ask where is the old one. The purpose there was to killing Gaddafi was the intention. No plan after the war. Syria is there today. So those weapons now come down, and there's a loose weapon everywhere. But only our problem in South is that our people, our governors, there is a moderator. He said there's something that I listened very well. Leadership vacuum. You mentioned it. Our governors are not elected by their will. Just Uzodinma as an example, from number 4 to number 1. So people know voting doesn't count, voting doesn't work. And our leaders are very far from the people.
Okay.
So, 1 second. So what I'm saying now is that what we have to do in this issue, ECN is welcome. Okay, now these people form security on paper, a bag or whatever they call it. No personnel, nothing. Okay. When you buy their own, you see cars, see everything. Even they carry to their state parliament, it was approved. Okay, if really these people really love us, or our leaders is really for us, or they're not working for something, it's not too late to make peace. Everybody, why now the country is getting popular every day? It's awkward behavior of our leaders. Finish.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Mr. Nwangwu, how will you respond to some of the issues raised by Mr. Ugochukwu, please?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I agree with Mr. Ugochukwu regarding the issue of, in fact, most of the observations he has raised. One thing we noticed is that the attacks in Imo State, both in Owerri and other adjoining cities, happened, and it was widely reported that those responsible are unknown gunmen, UGN, who were responsible for the attacks. And then Nnamdi Kanu, I follow him on Twitter. I also follow most of his closest allies on Twitter. Nnamdi Kanu came out categorically to state that IPOB and ESN were not responsible for the attacks. And within 24 hours, without coming up with any thorough investigation, the former IGP, Mohammed Adamu, stated categorically that the IPOB was responsible for the attacks in correctional centers, in the zonal police headquarters, amongst other places. Now, that was not a product of research. It wasn't a product of investigation. Meanwhile, within the same period, there was an aircraft that I think it went missing, or it was attacked by a group that claimed the responsibility, and the name of the group is Boko Haram. But the Nigerian Air Force said that, no. This attack was not carried out by Boko Haram. Meanwhile, the group claimed responsibility. And this is another group within the Southeast that said, we did not carry out this attack. And you said, no, they carried out the attack. And I was very much somewhat relieved by what the governor said, the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, about 2 days after. He featured in Channels TV, Politics Today, and he made it clear that the attack was political. And that aligns completely with the observation made by Ugochukwu regarding the issue of security votes. So it is possible that some of these things have been instigated by politicians within the region to serve as a justification for the embezzlement of their security votes. Of course, security votes are not accounted for. This would provide a sufficient justification that they are trying to secure their immediate domain. They have invested so much money in security provisioning. Then this also leads me to what from a Bonny state. So my governor, Dave Umahi, is also in the business of making hasty conclusions. When
Have we lost our guest here? If we have, let's take another question from Mr. Nwangwu, and then we ask Ugwueze to respond to that question or observation while we wait for our guest to log back in. Mr. Chinonso, please, Nwangwu, what's your question or observation at this point?
Good evening, Mr. Elombah.
Retired captain, now I didn't recognize you again.
Thank you very much. I thank our guest today.
Yeah, that's dark. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. I've had every comments and contributions. I think they are wonderful. You know, it's a pity that every day we keep saying the same thing, and I think the problem we have is that the embargo or whatever, they started it on a very wrong footing. Yes, the people that said it was a reactionary move are correct. I thought that on that day, in the process, they should have carried the speakers of the House of Assembly. They should have carried them along, because they are the ones that will give the teeth to the tiger or the lion. So those speakers, we are not carried along, and they would have been faster if the speakers were there. What they needed to do is just to dust some state security Lego networks, or make one or two calls and then get their own draft. And within 24 hours, you can have it. They can pass that bill within 24 hours. After that, the passing budget within a day. So such a sensitive something, they could have arranged that with the speaker and the houses. So that immediately after they have finished that meeting, within the by now, the laws would have been out of time. And they're talking about that. It's like there is no plan really to make the thing work immediately. And mind you, we are about entering political period. People are already talking about 2003 Anambra is an election. So you may see that these guys do not have time to even sit down and plan and roll out this network. I believe and I hope that they will find out time to do that, because it is so bad in our place that we don't have any security apparatus. We are dependent on the police every time. And the police now have come under attack. Most of them are no more even ready to go and come out and do it. So it is the only way we have your own local networks that will have been able to do something, which unfortunately the governors failed to do over years. They only established one group and neglected, no funding, no nothing. So those people will not be doing. So those of them will be doing security work in a nightclub, going for wedding to protect people, going to. So it's not the main thing that's supposed to be doing that doing. So I even posted to the market as security guys, you can imagine. So by the time you see all these things, you see that the whole thing is just political, just to appear as if not something is going on. Nothing is going on. So it's quite pathetic. And what I would suggest as a way forward is our people. We shouldn't just wait for the governors to do much, because of the way some of them came in. So our people on their own, that should be this. As we protest against answers, I look up to a day when our people internally can equally protest against the government and tell them that enough is enough. If they're not ready to work for them, then they should vacate the office so that we know we don't have governors. So I think it should come to that, where our people should, because I believe that as on our you can't be talking about Buhari when you have a worse Buhari in your state as governor or as a government chairman. So I think we need to think inwards. If we need to think inwards, we're able to attack most of this nonsense going on in the South, and then they will wake up. Thank you very much.
All right, we thank you. This comment from Captain Nwangwu, so will lead to the next stage and the concluding part of our conversation. What is the solution? Let's get to Dr. Ugwueze, please. What would you suggest as the solution to the present state of insecurity in the Southeast?
Thank you very much. In fact, it has got to the time we begin to assume decentralized security formation, and when politicians will start to provide the leadership. Let me tell you, nature has a way of solving this problem. Because when insecurity was seen as a problem of the poor person, the rich went to sleep. But now it has become general. Therefore, everybody's hand will be on deck. The problem is this: we securitize politics and we politicize security. These two things destroy an environment. We need to evolve, one, from the national. There is a need to evolve a clear electoral process that will take power back to the people. And one way of doing it is to at least revisit that which we call Electoral Act, which only provides a method, but not guiding a process. That is one. When we do that, and we now elect our people, and the people now see that we elect them, I tell you, there is no solution rather than to sit up. Because what is happening now is that they use the entire situation for politics to galvanize the support, because they have like continue to rotate themselves in power. Not until power is taken back to the people, the problem will continue. On the second aspect, which I think the people will, let us no longer look at our politicians. That's number one. I think the traditional rulers, the president generals of the various town unions in eastern Nigeria, it has got to be a time when they need to start assuming their own security. Good enough, so many state governments have provided opportunity for what they call neighborhood watch or vigilante or whatever name they assume. I tell you, those people are doing wonders in many environments. Therefore, if we de-emphasize looking at the politicians and the governors, because they have failed us and they will continue to fail us until that electoral process is solved, we will first begin to provide the security for ourselves from the way things are looked at. And then we'll begin to see community policing, where an attack on one becomes an attack on all. Thank you very much.
We thank you. Mr. Nwangwu, what would you suggest as the way forward? The solution? Is Mr. Nwangwu still with us? No? Okay.
I am back.
Okay, yeah.
I am back. I had a network disruption.
Yes, okay. You're welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
Let's go ahead. What would you suggest as the solution, the way forward to the state of insecurity we have in the Southeast?
Okay. I think the key stakeholders, starting with the government and the other stakeholders like even Ohaneze, in terms of socio-cultural outfit, Ohaneze and the religious groups, they should be able to come up with a multi-pronged approach to address the current problem. That is at the regional level now, because both the regional government, the states within the region, they have a role to play. The various opinion molders and leaders within the region, they have important roles to play. Then the central government also has a central role to play. So with respect to the regional government, the truth of the matter is that it would be an exercise in foolhardiness to attribute all the problems in the Southeast to the central government. Like I stated during the preliminary expression of my thoughts in this meeting, I did mention that there has been a kind of an unholy alliance between the elite of Southeast extraction and the petit bourgeoisie within the Nigerian state. So, and this unholy alliance have always resulted in oppression, in neglect and negligence of the ordinary members of the society, what some people might call the hoi polloi, the underclass. So there's an unholy alliance between the elite of the Southeast origin and the elite of the central government. And this alliance has not propelled economic development within the region. It has not catapulted the state of the economy, employment, and the rest of them to a much higher level, so that the specific economic needs and the well-being of the people would be addressed. So within the region, I think the state governors should make a consensus effort. There's this Southeast Development, there's this body established by Southeast Governor, Southeast
Commission, Southeast Development Commission,
Southeast Development Commission, and other related bodies. I think such bodies should be reactivated, because I doubt if it is still alive. So such bodies should be activated. They should be funded, so that there should be a master plan. When you look at the achievements of the lives of M.I. Opala in the days of Eastern Regional Government, it was not just restricted to maybe what we have today as 5 Southeast states. The impact of his development extended even to Cross River. It extended to River State. It extended to present-day Bayelsa. It extended to Akwa Ibom, and every part of the Eastern region felt the impact of M.I. Opala's leadership. So I think the present crop of leadership in the Southeast, they have to rethink what they have been doing, because over the years there have been a progressive decline in terms of leadership delivery. Instead of making impact, instead of progressing, we are declining within the country. And it shouldn't be so. In the past, we were doing much better. Why are we doing poorer today? So it still boils down to issue, like Mike mentioned, it partly connects to the issue of electoral reform. So there might be need for electoral reform. Electoral reform might also make it possible for a higher degree of legitimacy on the part of those who are saddled with various authority positions in the Southeast today. Because if you are exercising power without legitimacy, it will just amount to nothing. And that is more or less what we are witnessing today. Then, in addition, I think the issue of that is with respect to the central government now, it has dawned on everybody that we cannot move forward again without decentralizing power. Nigeria is perhaps the only federal country, federal in quotes, that runs on a highly centralized system. And no diverse society has ever survived running a centralized system. So I think it is high time, because the agitations going on in the Southwest, in the Southeast, in North Central, in Niger Delta, and other parts of the country, they are all pointer to the fact that there is need for power to be decentralized to various states, to subnational levels, local governments, and so on and so forth. If people have a feel of power, I mean, it will definitely.
Well, you are almost concluding anyway, so we thank you very much. I think there was a gentleman raising up his hand.
Reduce various and
yes, well, thank you very much, Mr. Nwangwu. You almost your network started being unstable towards the end, but we thank you very much. Your points are well made. Let's take the final question, and then we take your final submissions before we call it a day. Mr. Ugwueze Obinna Cletus, can you unmute yourself, please? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, good day, Mr. Moderator. I'm very pleased to be in your midst, and as I've listened to this program, it's a privilege to have listened to two of the great lecturers that I was privileged to go under their tutelage in the first University of Department of Political Science in the Sub-Saharan Africa. So it has been an informative and a very interesting topic you brought, and I'm very happy to have participated in this and listened to the presentation made by the two scholars of politics. So just to add to what they've said, I think the system as it is very bad. because security is a very sensitive issue, and it's quite appalling that when you come to Nigeria as a nation, security becomes an issue we are debating on a daily basis. Before, I used to think that it's just something we inherited, but my experience have shown that from the way I've experienced things from other parts of the world, I've seen that these are just problems we Nigerians created by ourselves, most especially from the side of the leadership, as the speakers pointed out. If only the security apparatus can be decentralized, because there have been calls for state policing. If the politicians or the political institutions have listened to this call, I believe at this point we'll be talking about moving. What we'll be talking about is how to move the country and the economy. Yeah. But see, today we are still talking about security and all sort of what have you. So to me, it's very, very unfortunate that this is happening in Nigeria. And most times when I go online to check up on updates from Nigeria, I feel heartbroken. I feel heartbroken because the system has created a problem that is very, very difficult for it to solve. Presently, I've stayed in France for a very long time, and I begin to think, is there no way Nigeria can emulate what is going on here? You see police just patrol in their van. By mere communicating with you, they will ask you to pull up your marks. That's it. No arm. But in Nigeria, you have security personnel more than the civil personnel, all of them bearing AK-47. I think that is very intimidating, and I don't know, I just feel so happy listening to these people. And if only we can start putting the right peg in the right hole, which is taking those people who are learned in the system to actually fix them. Because looking at the presenters, Dr. Michael and Mr. Chikodiri, I think if these people
are given opportunities to...
Are given opportunity, yes. Let us, I believe if they are given opportunity, there will be change. Let us try to bring in the right people to pilot the affair of the Nigerian polity. Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to have joined you, and please do well to also tell me when you'll be having such these things so I can join and also disseminate the information to others. Thank you very much.
We thank you very much. I will put out my phone number before we leave so that we can link on WhatsApp. Now, finally, before we take the concluding submissions from our guests tonight, I will ask two questions to two individuals, and then I invite our guests to build up on that. But please restrict your answer to just 1 minute. Kasmi, are you still here? Okay. Yesterday, please, we had General Omahe,
yes,
the head of the new Ebubago security outfit, to say that we in diaspora overstate the state of insecurity in the Southeast. Would you say that the insecurity we are talking about is exaggerated? Is it the way? Just 1 minute, please, and then 1 minute.
With due respect to Ogomai, I don't think it's correct. There is nobody exaggerating anything. In short, you're not even saying much. If we start talking about insecurity in the Southeast or in Nigeria as a whole, maybe UN will send a peacekeeping here. There is a big insecurity in the country. Southeast particularly, there's a big insecurity. Right. Almost the entire forest, the farms. Most farmers can't access their farmland. So we're talking about it's a very serious issue here. I don't believe in being diplomatic. This is the truth. There is problem of insecurity. And one of the worst things is that even the federal government body language is assisting this security. The head of state is not doing anything about it. It's by mere words and language, body language, it's encouraging what is going on. So nobody can say that anybody is generating the insecurity. Rather, what I would say is that those in diaspora are helping us to make the world know what is happening, because it's like within here that they have cowed everybody here.
Thank you.
The media.
Right.
Nothing is going on. So it is you guys who are outside that even helping the world to know what's happening.
We thank you. Thank you. I think you were here yesterday when General Mahe was being interviewed in my friend's own friend's television. Thank you, but if you are not, how will you answer that question?
I'm not there, but I will still contribute.
Okay, go ahead.
It paid me.
Are we exaggerating it, or is it that bad the way we are putting? Just 1 minute, please.
I concur with the last speaker, because what he said is the fact. Even yesterday, there's another incident at Abagana. One of my friend, again, a candidate, gubernatorial candidate, was kidnapped, beat his driver and leaving, but no announced, no news carry it.
What's the name, please? What's the name of the candidate?
No, the man doesn't want problem. He really
Okay.
I will call you and tell you on phone.
Okay.
One of somebody who is trying to be a governor in Anambra State was kidnapped, beat mercilessly. His driver and the man now is going on that, going treatment. It's not announced, no news carry it. So everything is going funny in that country.
Announce it here now. Is it not in news? Yeah? Announce it for us here now.
What I'm telling you is a fact. Don't worry. I will call you and tell you what happened. It's real. I'm not lying. It will be, if I tell you, it will be on the permission of the victim to announce his problem. I can bring him on your program. I'm not lying.
Okay.
Anything I tell you is fact.
All right. Well, thank you. Now back to our guests. Doctor, are we still here? Okay, yes. Dr. Ugwueze, you are still here, right? Dr. Ugwueze, please. Now let's take your concluding submissions in the state of insecurity. Can you summarize your thoughts about the state of insecurity in the Southeast and what will be the solution in 1 minute? Summary.
Your number, please.
Is Dr. Has he left? All right, let's go to Mr. Nwangwu, please. Mr. Nwangwu. Can you please unmute yourself?
Okay.
Yes. Can you
yes,
please?
I've done so.
Okay, Dr. Ugwueze is back. But first, Mr. Nwangwu, can you give us your concluding thoughts on tonight's program?
All right. First, I want to appreciate the opportunity to participate in this important program that speaks to the security challenges in the Southeast, which happens to be my region of the country. So the truth of the matter, like one of our participants here said, that there is no point being diplomatic about all this. The truth of the matter is that this state of insecurity will continue to grow. It will continue to expand, and until something is conscientiously done by the relevant authorities. And I did highlight the role that various authorities could play before now. One is that the immediate domain of the challenges is the Southeast. And the Southeast has political leaders, the state governors, the senators, the House of Reps members, amongst several other politicians. It is high time they started making consensus moves to address the issue of poverty, the issue of unemployment, amongst other economic challenges within the region. It is commonly said that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So if a number of economic sustainability programs are provided and rolled out by the state within the region, it will go a long way in addressing all these issues of insecurity. Then on the part of the central government, especially under the current regime of General Muhammadu Buhari, there is no gainsaying the fact that there has been a deliberate policy to exclude the Southeast. both in political appointments and in infrastructural development. And these are some of the things that have continued to build on the existing state of anger, the existing state of prolonged misgiving within the Southeast. Because as it stands now, many people feel that we don't have a sense of belonging anymore in a country we call our own, in a country that we made more contribution than any other nationalist leader of Yoruba or Hausa Fulani extraction to liberate from colonial, from the clutches of colonialism. So when you remember this gallant roles played by the likes of Nnamdi Azikiwe, M.I. Okpara and others in the anti-colonial movement, and today, because of the events surrounding the outcome of the civil war that ended in 1970, the Igbos have now been completely excluded in security, architecture of the country, in political appointment, in virtually everything you can think of. So when you remember all this, you will naturally feel unhappy. And in that state of unhappiness, you can act in a manner that might threaten the existing fragile security. So the point I'm making is that unless and until the government at the center begins to imbibe the ethos of inclusive governance both in terms of infrastructure provisioning and the personnel that are recruited or appointed into various sensitive positions, whether in security or other sectors, the issue of insecurity in the Southeast will not abate. Thank you, sir.
I thank you very much, Mr. Nwangwu. You seem to encapsulate the idea that unfairness or injustice leads to agitation, and agitation leads to insecurity.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Now let's go down to Dr. Ugwueze, please. This summary of your presentation tonight.
By way of summary, I would say, let me give something like Expo. If you are to be in exam hall, we pursue students that you are carrying microchips, you are carrying Expo. I'll give Expo to Southeastern leaders, the governors and the rest of them. Let me tell you, a time is coming when any region that is able to feed its people will be leading Nigeria. Because the current invasion of farmlands by herdsmen and all kinds of things, we have not even seen insecurity. We will see insecurity when food crisis in East Summit joins the current situation we are passing through. That's when you begin to see number one insecurity. So by way of that expo that I said, any governor that is able to evolve a process of securing his people and investing in agriculture and securing the farmlands will eventually be the best in providing security for the people, because food crisis causes more other insecurity than any other security situation. That said, I will want to say that we can only talk and continue talking. We'll never keep quiet until something is done. But even if these people fail to do anything, nature will take its course. Because it is said that when you don't plan, by implication, you're already planning for failure. Therefore, the expo that I've given, I think governors should look towards that direction and stop politicizing everything and stop happening into every situation to permeate crisis. Because if you watch very well, every environment where there are several disagreements among politicians in such states, it is always encapsulated in insecurity. That's where I will end it for now as we continue the discussion subsequently. Thank you very much, the moderator.
I thank you very much, Mr. Michael Ugwueze, Ph.D., Senior Lecturer at the Department of Political Science, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Thank you very much for gracing our podium tonight and addressing Nigerians on this very important matter of security. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I also thank Mr. Chikodiri Nwangwu, lecturer at the Department of Political Science, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, specializes on political economy. Thank you very much for being with us tonight and talking to Nigerians.
Thank you very much.
And of course, we thank all the people who joined the Zoom meeting for your contributions, and especially Kashmir and Tangu. Thank you very much for also making contributions to our discussion. So we will continue our discussion. On Sunday, we are hosting 4 important persons as well, at the caliber we also have today, to discuss whether the current insecurity, the current threat of breaking up Nigeria, is there a way that Nigeria can find a solution and avoid the imminent crisis? So looking forward if you're able to join us on Sunday by 6 p.m. So thank you. And on this note, we say good evening.